So, it's often said that there are five modes of storytelling. A mode means, oh, I can't move this. A mode means a way of doing something. So, five different ways of storytelling, and you might switch between modes throughout the story, as you'll see in this video, which will be here. The five modes are narration, description, dialogue, interior monologue, and exposition. So look at these for a moment. Think about which of these terms is familiar to you and which terms are new. Please also remember that storytelling happens differently in different cultures around the world. So while these sometimes can be taught as if this is the way stories always happen, that's not necessarily true. But this is just one way to look at storytelling. So narration, description, dialogue, interior monologue, and exposition. I'm going to take you through this lesson, and then afterwards you'll be able to look at the slides in this video with this link in 3.5, and then you'll also be able to play a Kahoot and compete with another class to test your understanding. So let's take a look. Modes of storytelling. All right, so here's an example of just a passage from a story. She exhaled hard. Chloe can't come. My dad looked up from tying his shoes. What happened? Stomach virus, Mom said, tossing her phone on the bed where I was sprawled out, watching them get ready for the wedding. Her boss was getting married. I wasn't invited. Not that I wanted to go anyways. So think about which of the five elements you could identify in this one. For sure, you probably noticed dialogue, which is people talking, maybe some description. In this slide, they've color coded it. And so you'll see the different modes. Each color is a different mode. So we've got our five types: narration, description, dialogue, interior monologue, exposition. Narration is when the writer tells you something that's happening, the live action. You could also think of like a sports game. The sportscaster is talking over the soccer game or the football game and explaining what's happening. Narration is kind of like that. Description is a detailed look at something in the story. It appeals to at least one of the five senses, like sight, smell, touch, temperature. Here's an example. In the dim hallway, his squatty little body was a silhouette in the light coming from the living room, like a buffalo wing someone had dropped on the floor. Dialogue is when characters are speaking out loud to each other, usually. Here's an example from the previous story. Interior monologue. Interior means inside. So that's when we see a character's thoughts that they're thinking inside their head. So it's kind of like a dialogue, but just one person. So it's a monologue. And here's an example. Seriously, girl, I thought to myself, you're like 100 times bigger than him. Just end this already. And exposition, we learn facts or background information about the characters, setting, and situation. Example would be Chloe is a college student, the daughter of my parents' friends, and they say she just comes over to hang out with me. So you're just explaining something about the world of the story. Here's the passage again. Here's the different colors. If you want, you can pause the video and take a look so you can see which is which. Narration again is like the sports play-by-play. Dialogue is conversation that happens out loud. Description is descriptive details that relate to the five senses. Interior monologue is somebody thinking to themselves. And exposition is explaining. You might think exposition and narration are similar. And I think that's fair. They do feel a little bit similar. Narration might be more describing action. So if you think of that sports play-by-play. Now you're going to do a Kahoot and test your knowledge. You can get the link to the Kahoot on 3.5 at the bottom here. There's just two separate ones because I can only have 40 person per Kahoot. So take that and see how you do. see if you're understanding this or not, then I want you to go back to your story draft and kind of go through it and maybe color code it or circle or write in the margin which mode of storytelling you're using throughout your story. This will help you maybe notice if you're missing something, if you have too much of one kind. How can you change it to add a little more variety and make it interesting? Good luck.